to get into the rumors, the stuff that really has not been solved
some
quite
guys
yet.
who have not been signed yet.
Exactly. So let's get to note number 1 here. Dion Lewis. Are there 8 teams in pursuit of him? We're giving this 2 Goodell heads. People are most certainly talking. Tom, what a pursuit.
Well, it was 8 earlier this week, I think, and that's why it's only 2 right now, because among those teams were the Jets and the Giants. They have since signed running backs.
Correct.
So cross them off the list there, of this list up here. I think you're going to look at teams that are more along the lines of, I think the Niners make a lot of sense. I think the Colts make sense. I, though, would love to see him in Tennessee. I think he and DeMarco Murray would be an incredible pairing. Of course, the Titans are a little bit tight on money at this point, because they just signed a big deal to Malcolm Butler, or for Malcolm Butler. So keep an eye on Dion Lewis. I think in the near future, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow or Thursday, I think he signs and gets a nice little contract for a guy that was almost out of the NFL at one point.
Dion Lewis had a pretty darn good season a year ago, very elusive runner at that. You see the 2 Goodell heads. What do those heads mean? Part of our rumor meter here, our scale of believability for all the rumors that we discuss. 0 heads, it's fake news. 1 Goodell head, small shred of truth. 2 Goodell heads, as you just saw, people are talking, firmly in that rumor category. 3 Goodell heads, more probable than not that it is true. And then 4 Goodell heads, it is fact news. It is a thing. Let's get into note number 2 here, Tom.
Yeah, so number 2 is whether or not the Jets are going to ink Teddy Bridgewater. And this seemed a little bit more likely before we went on the show here, Cam, before the Jets re-signed Josh McCown. It's still an option, but if you're Teddy Bridgewater and you've got other interest, do you want to go play for the Jets, who are going to have Josh McCown and are probably going to draft quarterback? So just 2 heads on this one here. It could still happen, but I think it's more in the rumor category at this point. It'd be fun, but with the Jets re-signing Josh McCown, that might be a sign that, you know what, we couldn't quite get Teddy Bridgewater, because if you're the Jets, I think you still want to draft a quarterback very early. With Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg on the roster, are you going to drop both of them to add Teddy Bridgewater? I don't know. I think Bridgewater might go elsewhere. All
right, so 2 Goodell heads on that one. Let's go to note number 3 here. Are the Dolphins keeping right tackle Jawan James? He's an impending free agent. They do have a 5th-year option on him, so he can't negotiate during this legal tampering period. We're giving this 2 Goodell heads. People are most certainly talking about this one. When he's healthy, he's a premier pass protector. Big if when he is healthy, though.
I think at the end, the Dolphins are going to keep that 5th-year option. I think they'll keep him. Denver has been interested in him. They want him to go be their right tackle. I don't know if the deal will actually end up happening, so it is still firmly in the category. If I had to guess, though, Cam, I think he stays with Miami. I think he sticks with the Dolphins, and that allows the Dolphins to have a good right tackle, because their offensive line needs some work anyway. They don't need to go get a right tackle as well.
Let's go to note number 4 here. Paul Posluszny, did he retire? Yes, he did. 4 Goodell heads on that one. He announced it today, Tom. Quite a career for him with the Buffalo Bills, but more notably with the Jacksonville Jaguars, ranking 2nd in franchise history in total tackles, only behind Darryl Smith.
I thought he could have played longer, and maybe he's a little bit tired and he wants to just take some time off. He's only 33 years old, which is a little bit older for a linebacker, but he still played well enough to be a starter somewhere in the NFL. I guess in reality he wanted to call it a career. Keep an eye on him getting a coaching job somewhere. He's a very intelligent linebacker. I would not at all be surprised if you see him, maybe it's with the Jaguars, start off as an assistant coach, a lower-end assistant coach of sports, and work his way up and maybe take a Mike Vrabel-type path.
One of the great guys out there in the NFL as well, Paul Posluszny, a great career for him. Let's go to note number 5 now. Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Will he sign with the Seattle Seahawks? They just lost their star tight end and Jimmy Graham. We're giving this to Goodell heads. ASJ would love to return to Seattle, Tom, because, well, he's from the area and he's currently working out with Seattle players. So people are most certainly talking about this.
He's from a city just west of Tacoma, played at the University of Washington. I think it makes sense for both sides. Now, there are other teams interested in ASJ right now. I think the Colts are among them. You could see a couple of other teams in the mix as well. I would like to see this happen. I think this makes sense for both sides. He shouldn't be that expensive. It allows Seattle to save money elsewhere and invest at different positions. So I would like to see this happening. It's still in that rumor category, but I think it makes sense to allow the Seahawks to get a tight end, not as good as Jimmy Graham, but sets them up to have a spot there at tight end, have a good player there that they can win with and have success.
All right, so that is the latest with ASJ there. Bears, Jaguars, and Colts are also interested in the tight end there. and we'll see where he heads, but certainly would like to go to the Seattle Seahawks. Let's get to note number 6 here. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, is he visiting with the Redskins and the Saints? We're giving this 4 Goodell heads. We think it is news. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie recently cut by the New York Giants, and now he's a free agent.
I think the Redskins make a lot of sense because they just lost Rashad Breeland, and they've got Josh Norman, Quentin Dunbar, and I don't really know who else. So I think it makes a lot of sense. There's some interdivisional hate there on that end. I think it's a good fit for the Redskins, and DRC can be an outside corner. That's what he wants to be. I don't think he's going to be an outside corner for the Saints. I would not be surprised at all if you see Washington get a deal done with DRC in the coming days.
All right, so that's the latest with Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Let's get to note number 7 now. The Packers, did they cut wide receiver Jordy Nelson? They did indeed do this. We're giving us 4 Goodell heads, and this is not surprising, Tom. They had to make a decision with either him or Randall Cobb.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit concerned because we were so adamant on previous NFL Daily shows that they were going to cut one of those guys.
We were.
And then I'm like, oh, it's tampering period. They haven't cut any of them. Well, then they got Jimmy Graham, and they cut Jordy Nelson, and I think it makes a lot of sense. $10.2 million in savings. He wasn't the same player, had a massive cap hit. By cutting him, they free up that money to pay a guy like Jimmy Graham. He may make another lesser move as well, and they can also draft a receiver at some point as well. So Cobb, Devontae Adams, and maybe Geronimo Allison are the top 3 guys. Keep an eye on wide receiver in the draft for Green Bay this season.
Number 8 on our list here, Adrian Peterson. Will he be joining the Houston Texans? Well, he certainly would like to. We're giving this 2 Goodell heads. He called it a dream scenario to join the Houston Texans. Told TMZ that.
I thought his dream scenario was to go play for the Dallas Cowboys.
Apparently not.
All right, which is it, Peterson? Do you want to go play for Dallas or Houston? I think what happened here is Adrian Peterson wanted to play for Dallas. Then they got Ezekiel and goes, "Ooh, I'm not as good as him." Now he looks at Houston and goes, "You know what? I can maybe beat out Lamar Miller. I can maybe beat out Deonta Foreman." Peterson wants to be a starter. I don't know if he is a starter anymore.
Right. Houston,
I would be surprised if they're interested in because, yes, Foreman's coming off of injury, but you have Lamar Miller. Do you want to split time with Peterson? And if Peterson doesn't get the ball, we saw it with the Saints, he's not really a happy camper. So I would be very surprised if Peterson ends up in the Texans. That's with Texans, not in the Texans. That's just weird.
All right, so Adrian Peterson, we'll see what happens with him. He's a free man as he was recently cut by the Arizona Cardinals.
Today, actually.
And then to wrap up the rumor segment here, will the Patriots sign Ndamukong Suh? And the report is that they didn't want to give Danny Amendola a price hike, if you will, so that they could save some money and get this guy. We're giving it 2 Goodell heads. People are most certainly talking about this one, the rumor origin, as you see at the top of your screen, coming out of SB Nation. This is very interesting.
It's certainly fascinating. Jeff Howe of the Boston Herald didn't really reject it. So he didn't have any info, but he could see it, and that he's not going to dismiss it. This would be pretty crazy, Cam.
Yeah.
Patriots get Suh. All of a sudden, up front, they are loaded with talented defensive line or a talented pass rusher there. I think it'd be fun to see for the Patriots. Every other team would be like, no, we don't want this. Suh with Bill Belichick would be absolutely terrifying. So I think it could end up happening here. I don't know how realistic this outcome is going to be because I think Suh does want some more money. But if he wants to win, that does make some sense for Suh to go join the New England Patriots.
So Ndamukong Suh reportedly could be going to New England, but we're calling it firmly in the rumor category. 2 Goodell heads on that one.